Welcome everybody to the Bookish Gnome, and today we're doing a review on Kingfall by David Estes. That's this book right here. Alright, so today we're doing the review on Kingfall. I've actually been really excited to do this one because, well, let's just say straight off the bat, I really enjoyed the book. This book was published back in July 2021, I believe, and since then he has already published 3 more books within the series, and that's a lot of books all at once. And what's even more impressive is the page count in each of them. It's just, they're big chunky boys. And listening to this on audio, I was a little bit, could you say, scared, because when I first downloaded it, I was like 29 plus hours. Whew, that's going to be a lot. And just to think, like, after this, there's going to be 3 more, or yeah, 3. Well, no, I think there's another one coming even after that. I don't know how many this man's going to put out in this series. Now, this is also not a sequel to, but within the same world as his other books called the Fate Marked series, which I didn't even know that there was a Fate Mark series. The first time I heard of this book was when I was done listening to The Winter King by Bernard Cromwell, and they suggested it to me in Audible. I didn't really know what to expect when getting into this book. Obviously, I just seen the cover within Audible, and they had suggested it to me because of The Winter King, so I thought, you know, why not? I thought maybe it would be more like historical fiction. Well, it kind of is, except that it's, you know, an epic high fantasy. So it's not of this world, it's on a different world. And it's their histories. In fact, the whole series is called the Kingfall Histories. So there you go. I also ended up liking the series so much that I picked up books 2 and 3. I bought them. I couldn't help myself. So I'll be reading those very soon. And this is what they look like. Here's number 2, Dragonfall. You know, it's got a big old dragon, probably about to spew some fire. Pretty cool. And then the third book is Magefall. And I'm not exactly sure what's going on here other than there being a lady warrior and some dragons in the background. Pretty cool though. I wonder what that's going to be. Let's get into what the book is actually about, and what the rest of the series is going to be about. Let me just read you the blurb off the back, which is nice. It's on the back. This is actually a fairly minimal book. So it does have a map in it though, which is pretty cool. And I can show you guys that. Hopefully this will show up on the camera. It's not the greatest of maps, especially since it's in like black and white, but hopefully that focuses up. You guys can see all that. So on the back it says, Warring Kingdoms, Ancient Blades, Dragon Riders, and Godlings. A growing evil that threatens to destroy the world. Infused with magic, shadows, and starlight, the powerful god blades were believed to be lost nearly half a millennia ago when the Gods' War ended. Now, however, one has been found by the unlikeliest of wielders, Samson Guard, a blind but ambitious prince with something to prove. The only question is whether he controls the blade or the blade him. With an insidious evil lurking in the shadows, the answer may very well determine the fate of all Kingfall. I should have known coming into the book, because they suggested it after I'd read The Winter King by Bernard Cromwell, that it would be a book about warring kingdoms. I should have realized that when I started reading it, but since I hadn't read the back of the book, I wasn't aware of that. So at the start of the book, you meet Samson Guard, who is the third son within the ruling family of Teravainen, and he's blind. So he's kind of been a disappointment to his father, and you find that out fairly quickly within the story. You can tell right off the bat that that Samson, he's trying to prove himself as a contributing member of this royal family, and his father has been fairly hard on him growing up, even though he was blind. So he has been sent off on a mission to find Maginum, and Maginum is this powerful magical substance that mages use to, power, whatever their spells or whatever. I don't know. They don't really actually get into mages very much in this book. They get into a lot of other stuff, and it makes sense that they haven't gotten there yet because there's just so much in these worlds. That's one of the things that I already love about this book and series, is how rich it feels. Like there's just so many details, there's so many things happening that it just feels like it's this real world. Which I'm sure that they'll get into the mage thing at least by the third book, because the book's called Magefall. I'm sure that they might, get into more of it within the next book. I'm not sure though. We'll find out. I can't wait, actually. So Samson, he's on this mission to find Maginum with this mining company, and as they are working this mine, it's taking too long, and the lead miner, he asks Samson if they should dynamite the whole, more I think just to be nice to royalty at that point. And Samson says go for it, and through a chain of events, Samson becomes the bearer of a sword. I won't go into it too much. I don't want to spoil anything in this review. And I've actually recorded this once before, and I watched it back, and I was like, oh God, I have said way too much. And a lot of it had to do with Samson and his sword, and I won't go into it any further than that, other than, what the back of the sword, or the back of the book says, is the sword is influencing him. And that might be one of the best parts of the book, and also one of the most frustrating parts of the book. The juxtaposition between the sword and Samson himself, where he is listening to the sword and the sword is giving him advice, and you're just reading the story and you're thinking to yourself, should he take the advice? Should he not? And it's always a tough choice. And I won't go into why they're always tough choices. But needless to say, Samson is out to prove that he is worthy of the guard name. So he goes forth with the sword and he does things. This book has over 10 point of view characters. So you have Samson Guard, who is the third born son of the Guard family. Then you also have, and this book goes back and forth between kingdoms, people, all these different things. You have the kingdom of Odin, you have the kingdom of Teravainen, and you have the kingdom of Travail, which are the big three, at least in this book. And in Odin, the main character that you really get to meet is Peony Normandian, who is she's a princess of the Odin kingdom. And at the start of her story, you find out that she is going to be wed pretty much to a man named Dane, who is the dragon master of Travail. And this is to strengthen the bond between Travail and Odin so that Teravainen won't come in and just wreck Odin, because Teravainen and Odin have kind of been at war for a little while. Travail is a kingdom that is seen as barbaric, and that is kind of true. They're more, I would say, rustic than the kingdom of Odin. And so Princess Peony, she wants an adventure. She's like that kind of character where she wants to have an adventure. So she goes and she like wants to leave the kingdom to be with this dragon master. And at first it's, literally just for that reason. But as they get to know each other, there are other reasons that come into play. As you follow those two, you see how two people from two completely like different worlds can mesh, which is a really fun thing to read throughout this story. Also, Travail is the only place, pretty much, on this continent at least, that has dragons. I think that it's alluded to that there might be dragons in the Fate Marked world, which is just another continent on this same world. Then you also learn of a whole completely new race called the Grizzari. And in my head, they kind of look like minotaurs. But they're shorter than humans. So they're stocky, and they also have ram's horns instead of like bull horns. But in my head, I'm still seeing minotaur for some reason, just with ram's horns. So the Grizzari are nomadic tribes that just live in the plains pretty much, and they have just kind of been like that for a while. They come into play during this series because of Samson. He has interactions with them throughout especially right after the beginning of the story. Samson has interactions with the Grizzari like through the whole book. Another feature of this world is that there were gods and god beasts and also demons. And so there were wars back in the day. So you have like all this history, which is, needless to say, since the series is called The Histories of Kingfall. But they talk about it and they allude to it many times within the story of this past where there were gods and things like that. But they don't even have to allude to the histories for the demons. Whereas the gods have kind of gone away, the demons are still there. They're not actually like all the time there. There are these portals that allow demons to come onto the surface of the earth there. And there are 4 of these portals, I believe, at the start of the story. So they always have people in each of the kingdoms, because there's like one pretty much like in every kingdom, plus like another one like out somewhere. I can't exactly remember where it's at. But whoever has control of that area always has men there to, bat back the demon surge. So there are these demons pouring out all the time out of these holes, and they are just being killed like as they come out. And the demons, they come into more focus as you get to know another character named Endovier Helm, which most of the time he's just called Helm. And in his story, he is actually the general of the Odin nation's armies, or he's one of the generals, and he gets captured by Teravainen at the start of the book, and he's pretty much made into like a gladiator, and he doesn't spend much time in that arena, but it is a very fun part of the book. And after that portion of the story, he continues on as a slave for Teravainen, but it becomes more and more and more interesting, and it involves the demons and things like that. So that's where the demons really come into play. So you have like all these different like storylines going on with, you got these minotaur like people, you have dragons, you have demons, and you have intelligent swords, and there's just so much going on, and yet it's all done so well that I just couldn't stop reading. And that perfectly takes me into the next part of our video, which is what did I think was good and what did I think was bad, or, the pros and the cons. All right, like I've said before, I really enjoyed all of the different things that are happening in the book. The dragons, the demons, the godlings, the Grisari, the humans, the different warring factions. I mean, there's just a lot going on, and it's all put together so well. The overarching story or overarching story that is going on, where you can like see at the start like where it's kind of going, but then by the end you're just like, oh wow, there is so much to this world. There's so much world building, which is another part of this that I truly love. I love the world building in it, the and the possibilities that are going to come from what we've seen so far in the book. Then I do love the plot. I would say that maybe so far that might be the weakest part, and yeah, it's like if I had to give it a grade, I'd give it like a minus. I'd say that the reason why the plot just isn't as good as the other parts is just because there's so much of it, and it's so meaty that like you're only just seeing like the tip of the iceberg in this book, which is why he's already written 3 more and he's writing a 5th book. And I don't know if there's going to be more. I feel like he could probably write this series for a long time. I really truly love the characters in this book. I haven't even like talked about half of them, but I really love Samson as a character, not necessarily as like a hero or anything like that, but just as a character. He's very there's so many things happening inside of him, choice wise and things like that. And then there's his protector, which I hadn't even talked about. I believe his name is Roman, and it's actually been like 2 weeks since I've read the book, and now my brain is misfiring. But he is just this great character. I always love in every fantasy book when you have like a mentor slash mentee type relationship, and this is definitely a really good one, where in most of the books that I've read, like I just read another book where you get to see like the start of what's happening. This is more like they've been together for a really long time and they're very comfortable with each other, and he's just a really, really good character. I really like him. I love Helm. I love his character. I love all of the characters, really. I don't really think that there's one character in the book that I could point at and say, I hate this character. Maybe I don't like Gerard as much as I like the rest of them. Yeah, he kind of irks me, but, it's still a good character within the book. I'd say another good part of this book would have to be the um, the pace. The pacing is very well done, I think. Even for like a 800 plus page book, I feel like the whole time I was engaged, and there wasn't really much dead space within the pages where you're just like, come on, let's go to get to another point. Never really happened. I'd say maybe there's one point of view that I kind of forgot about till just now, which is probably why I forgot about it, because those parts of the book where it went to this young lady, it just kind of, and I didn't actually talk about her and the characters when I first started this, so you'll find out when you read it, but just her parts were kind of like so off to the side that I was just kind of like, what's this part and why is it happening? By the time her story kind of finished and developed, like I was like, oh, okay, I see where this is going to go. Obviously, this was kind of a story that was built to be maybe more injected into the second and third books. So hopefully, I'll get to see more of that character and see where it goes. But other than that, the pacing was brilliant. Um, and the writing style, I would have to say, I mean, just typical fantasy style. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed uh, pretty much everything in this book. I'd have to say, like, maybe one of the bad things, if you want to call it a bad thing, I kind of got used to it by the end of the book. But without spoiling too much, I just didn't really like the dragon names because, and it makes sense within the story. The dragon riders, they become bonded to their dragon, and through that they're able to like communicate with the dragon like mentally. But through their bonding, they also form a name, and I thought it was a tad bit silly at start, but because their bond is so strong, I can see why they would do this. Their names are pretty much just an extended version of the rider's name. So, like, my name is Nathan. So let's just say that my dragon's name would be something like Nathanius or something like that. Like, say if your name was, Bart, then your dragon's name would be like Bartholomew. So it's just like an extended version of the name. And at first, it really threw me off. I was just like, this seems a little silly. So, but after a while, my brain just kind of got used to it. And other than that, like, I think that these books were awesome. I don't really see much that was wrong with them other than that. And that was literally just my own, like, little sticking point where other people might go, oh, I really like that about their names. It really shows the bond between them, things like that. So other than that, yeah, like, so good. Absolutely wonderful book. I am giving this book a 5 out of 5 gnomes. And I just, loved it, loved it, loved it. Reasons why you should read this book. I mean, you like epic fantasy? Do you like dragon riders and demons and intelligent swords? Do you enjoy truly evil people that are doing truly evil things? Do you enjoy characters that are put to the test of making choices that could obliterate their own soul from day to day? I mean, so yeah, if those are any of the reasons that you would like read a book series, definitely pick this series up. I really enjoyed Kingfall. I enjoyed the writing. I enjoyed the characters, the plot. I just really enjoyed everything about this book, and I really cannot wait to sink my teeth into the next few books in this. I'm gonna have to put off reading. Well, I won't have to put off reading the Wheel of Time series, which is something I want to do very soon, because it's been a long time since I've reread them, and I love them very much. So, but this series is actually, at least from the first book, it might compete with the Wheel of Time for me when it comes to like epic fantasy. And I feel like it can only get better. I've looked on Goodreads where this book has like a 4.3 or something like that out of 5 stars. And every book just has a better rating than this one. So I love this one so much. And I guess apparently it just gets better from here. So, can't wait. All right. Well, this has been The Bookish Gnome. I hope you enjoyed my review of Kingfall by David Estes. And have fun, keep reading, and have a magical day.